Good afternoon, everyone. This is Alan Phibbs with Key Advisors. We still have some registrants entering the webinar, and as soon as that slows down just a tad, I'll give it about another minute, and we'll get launched. Certainly respect your time and effort to join us this afternoon. Okay, we have a few there that are joining us yet, but I'm going to go ahead and get started. Again, my name is Alan Phibbs with Key Advisors, and certainly appreciate each one of you taking time from your day to join us this afternoon. A couple administrative items before we get too far. If you have questions that you'd like to ask, you can type them in the question box, and Heidi will refer them to me. Also, there in the handout section of the webinar, there are reflection questions for you. They don't necessarily follow the PowerPoint per se, but they follow along with the theme and the flow. You know, the last couple weeks, like a lot of folks, I have found time that I didn't otherwise have, and I've taken this opportunity to reflect some, and I want to share just a few of my reflections with you as we launch today. Maybe it's just me, but I've come to realize that I need to slow down and prioritize on a regular basis. Secondly, maybe it's just me, but I've come to realize we need to examine and get back to our core values and beliefs and actually live them out. And then finally, there are more, but the last one I want to share with you is that I've come to realize that maybe in these good times that we've been experiencing have come complacent, maybe presumptive. And I'm learning that there's some things that I can do without and be more thoughtful of others and thoughtful with the resources that I have available to me. You see the quote here on the opening slide. John Maxwell says every problem is solvable, and indeed it is. Over the last days, I've had the opportunity to learn and grow as well from my mentors, peers, and colleagues from the John Maxwell team and as others, which is why we're offering this two-part webinar today and again next Wednesday for part 2. John Maxwell says crisis is an opportunity. Also, that opportunities are not missed. Someone gets them or takes them. And my question is, statement would be, it may as well be you. Crisis separates the pretenders from the players. But one thing we know for sure is that crisis moves us. It never leaves us the same. And the movement is either positive or it's negative. So through these two-part webinars, today we're going to cover leadership responsibilities and perspectives. And we're also going to cover becoming a good leader in difficult times. Next week, we'll cover the characteristics of crisis and going forward. So first of all, I want to share with you just something that I think we all learned back in first grade, Mrs. Hassler for me, and whatever your teacher's name was, that a noun is a person, place, or a thing, and a verb is action. Well, a leader is a noun. It's a person, place, or a thing. It's a person. It could be a position. Leadership is a verb. It's something that you do. You take action, and that's what we're talking about as we start talking about leadership responsibilities and perspectives. One thing for sure, that we're all leading right now in a time where there's no model for us, and quite frankly, there's no procedure manual. First of all, it takes a mindset, the responsibility of having a learning mindset. Nobody has experienced this, nobody knew about it, so we all are learning from it. We need to welcome it. We don't have to like it, but we must welcome what we have in front of us. in order to be able to address it. Don't run from it, but embrace it. And then part of the mindset is establishing a disposition rather than a position. The politicians and the media are taking positions as it relates to the current conditions and circumstances, where our jobs as leaders is to take a disposition. That disposition starts inside, getting right inside yourself and in your mind. And then part of the mindset is acknowledging. While we acknowledge what we have in front of us in the current conditions and circumstances, we also don't want to exaggerate them, nor do we want to minimize them. A leader is one who knows the way, goes the way, and shows the way. Leaders also see more and before others. So what does this mean? Mark Cole, the CEO of the John Maxwell Enterprise, said what this means to him is to be the voice above the noise. The leader's voice is different than that of the crowd and of the masses. It's a voice of security, a voice of hope, a voice of clarity, a voice of determination. Now, while crisis is clearly refining us, it does not have to define us. By definition, I mean what I said earlier is getting back and re-examining our personal, our core values and beliefs and asking, are we really living them out? While crisis may refine us, there's a difference between reacting and responding. Reacting is one of that usually comes out of fear and out of worry. It's oftentimes tactical, whereas responding is more strategic, having a plan, engaging others. You might call it, while others' sky is falling, mine is not. So that's mindset. The second responsibility is to be collaborative, creating relevance in these times of change, relevance with your employees, that you're caring, that they are heard and that they're understood. But the same thing holds true for your customers, caring, that you understand them and that you're hearing them. It's been said that proximity is paramount. And while social distancing is being practiced, there are other ways that proximity can be practiced. You should always extend your hand before asking for someone else's hand. The other part of collaboration is that the leader doesn't carry the load on their own. Take care of yourself first. What do I mean by that? If any of you have traveled on airlines, the perfect example is when they tell you what to do when the oxygen mask drops. They say, put your mask on first and then help others. Well, this is what we're talking about here with your responsibilities. Take care of yourself first and then engage others. The third responsibility is awareness. In these times, it's the leader's responsibility to have a mindful awareness. You want to be that person that others come to and can lean on. You don't want to deflect them or reflect them. You want to welcome them. Provide a leadership response that is the voice of reason. Better leadership equates to brighter leadership. Be empathetic. I came across an article recently that actually was written on March 26th. And the article is entitled 7 Leadership Principles for Managing in the Time of the Coronavirus. It's called the 7 C's. I'm going to call it the 7 C's of success during crisis. The first C is to be calm. Your employees, your customers, your suppliers are looking to you as a leader to project a sense of calm through this difficulty and uncertainty. The second C is confidence. You have to be calm, but not just in still water. You have to project confidence that you're going to be able to see this through successfully. Well, how do you do that? The third C is through communication. Relentlessly communicate, and communicate. This avoids rumors. When people don't know what's going on, they make up their own story, and they're pretty good at it. So when you're communicating, talk about your strategy. Have a sense of order in which you communicate decisions and priorities and when they change. Be regular about your communication. Same time, same day, maybe use different mechanisms. Maybe one day it's a video, another day it's an email, maybe the next day it's a live Facebook Live. Delaying is not appropriate, and silence is certainly, absolutely the worst possible thing that you can do. The fourth, I mentioned it just a minute ago, is also collaboration. This is an opportunity for you to call on the resources and the capabilities of your employees. And quite frankly, each person may potentially have a role that they can contribute to overcoming the uncertainty and overcoming the crisis. And clearly, this will reduce any rumor mill. The fifth C is community. Modeling behaviors that are community friendly and supportive. And we've heard a lot about that, supporting our community, our local owned businesses. Six is compassion. Showing compassion where there's people in your organization that may not be as resilient and more dependent upon you as a leader. And when this happens, they need to be given the compassion to express their concerns. And then the seventh C is cash. Keeping your eye on cash. Are you doing everything that you can do for cash? The people want to know that you're empathetic. Now, empathy is not the same as sympathy. No one wants to be felt sorry for. Empathy is they want to be confident that they were heard. They want to be confident that they've understood. And they want to be certain that there is an answer. When these three are together, this starts to create movement out of the current conditions and circumstances. And while you may not have the answer, and probably don't have the answer, have the understanding and the responsibility that there are answers, and there's probably more than one. Have the mindset of a belief, leading in and through crisis. Believing that there's an answer will begin to lead you to it. The belief that we will come out of this, we always have. The belief that we will be better when we come out of it. And then the belief of how much better is up to us as a team together. Think opportunity in every difficulty. I've heard it been said that surrounded by visual problems is a seed of opportunity. And remember, opportunities aren't missed. Someone gets them. Then persevering. Everything rises and falls on leadership. In crisis, the fall is much faster and exaggerated when leadership is not present. When leadership is present, while the rise may not be as exaggerated, it may be just to be steady and to sustain. The difference between the two is most observed in crisis. Either crisis shows the leader up, or the leaders show up in crisis. Why? Because crisis puts the spotlight on leaders. It brings the best out of the good leaders. Leaders want to lead. They're born for it. It's their time. It's their moment. And by adding value to others, you can learn more together what the crisis is and therefore lead better. Perspectives. How we view things determines how we do everything. So there's two perspectives to keep in mind here from a leadership standpoint. Are you a follower? Followers are usually victims. They have a victim mindset. It's just me. They typically go along with the crowd and they have no voice. They're not above the crowd. They keep their head down. The second perspective is a leader. The leaders are the victors, not the victims. Victors involve other people. They keep their head up. They look for their perspectives and welcome the perspectives of others that are around them. It's intentionally being selfless. Again, be that person that others will come to. It's been said that when a person is drowning, they don't have comfort in other people that are drowning. They look for someone who is solid. So this is called resilience, rising above in spite of the crisis. So becoming a good leader in a difficult time. Let's talk about what you should not do first. And I'm sure these are going to be a review for most of you, but a good review is good for us at times. First of all, don't allow yourself to follow the crowd. Most in the crowd, as I mentioned earlier, the crowd, they're following their fears, they're following worry. The leader needs to stand above the crowd. Now, don't be above the crowd, but stand above. Have that voice that's different. Secondly, don't add fuel to the fire. Put the water on the fire. Again, not minimizing the crisis, but adding fuel to the fire just adds to the the rumor mill. And when you think about that, how long do you think it takes for negative conversation to turn good? So squelch it early. Don't do nothing. Recognize your responsibility. Take action. Do something positive, first of all, that will make yourself feel better, and you'll be the light for someone else. How do you do this? You celebrate small wins on a daily, even hourly basis, if needed. Celebrate the wins. And then do not be emotionally or relationally distanced. Yes, we are socially distanced, but that does not mean you have to be emotionally or relationally distanced. Empathy is critical, but don't stay in their shoes. Make sure that they know they've been heard and that they've been understood and that they have a role to play in coming out of this. So what should we do as leaders? What are leadership's responsibilities? The very first is put your people first. This should be the number one priority, whether we're in crisis or whether we're not. Putting people first means you're looking for how to add value to them, your employees, your customers. What's best for the people? I might also add that in comfortable times, you don't want to make people more uncomfortable. Allow them some level of comfort. Take the risk to care about and investing in your people. This helps to small the problem. Give up your rights to put yourself first. You give up your rights when you put yourself first in becoming a leader. And if you don't do this, the crisis multiplies. So in doing so, don't minimize the crisis, but don't minimize leadership responsibilities either. Help people get through it. Walk with them, walk beside of them. Help people get better because of it, not in spite of it. When the leaders are separated from the team geographically or parts of the team, and when they have to work from home, maybe for perhaps for healthcare reasons or childcare or even elder care, the team needs to hear the leader's voice and that voice of hope, that voice of security, clarity. This can be done through email and video. Don't get too comfortable with the written word. The team will share this voice in the same sense of hope, calm, and stability. And then this collective voice becomes loud enough that there's a confidence not to join the chaos of the crowd, and they all feel that they have a voice, the same voice. Get comfortable being seen, making video statements. Have people help you with this. Don't don't sit behind the door or get covered up behind the wall or behind your fears. Get comfortable being seen. Your people need to see you. The second thing is educating ourselves. Know what the issue really is. The real issue, while yes, health is clearly an issue, but the real issues with people today is uncertainty and fear and worry. And how do you help them to overcome that? The more uncertainties, the higher level of stress and anxiety. Most people will feel less stress, even if there's bad news. Why? Because when we know there's news, we can make decisions and we can take action. While this can change on a daily basis. So, what should you do first? Take an inventory of your intake. What voices are you listening to? What you allow in determines how you think, especially in emotionally and volatile times, and we are all subject to it. I might suggest that it not be the constant flow of media or social media, and certainly not politicians. You see, what politicians and what the media are, and a lot of social media are looking for today are sensation, and they're focused on ratings. That's not your agenda, that's theirs. Go to the authorities that know the answers, that have no agenda. When we get frozen in hysteria or chaos, we can't even see what's past us, hardly what's in front of us, but we certainly cannot see what's before us. How do we do that? We do it through encouragement. Find encouraging information. The one thing that you can find on the news and the politics is all the bad stuff. How many more people have tested positive? How many more deaths have there been? Find the information that says, is there a decrease in the number of positives? Is there an increase in the people that are leaving hospitals that have been cured? Several other things. If you have folks in your business that are old enough to remember the AIDS epidemic, it took 2 years to find the virus for AIDS, to identify it. This clearly has been much quicker. The virus currently can be wiped clean with proper procedures. It can be wiped clean. Vaccines are currently being tested. Just last week, the faster diagnostics are being developed from days to minutes. The CARES Act has been passed, and even more requests for appropriation of funds for businesses and personnel. We're starting to see the numbers of recoveries in some locations. And I think one of the biggest things for our industry is the favorable press that the transportation is receiving today. In my career, I cannot remember such favorable press in any time. How can we embrace that? How can we keep that going? How can we display that and embrace it in our communities and in our states and across our nation? The third thing leaders should do is be flexible. We're experiencing daily and sometimes even hourly changes. We need to be able to adapt to what's really changing. You've probably had a plan A, a plan B, maybe a plan C, but good coaches always have a game plan. But great coaches are the ones that make adjustments and execute them. See, our job as leaders is to lead through the landmines. Leaders shine in uncertainty. When it's moving, ask yourself, what do I need to do now for what is best for the people now? Lead them out of the moment toward what can be. Here's a question I have for you. It's not in the reflective questions, but if you have a pencil and paper, write this down because I think this is worth reflecting. Are you or will you be waiting for the new normal? Or are you or will you be creating the new normal? Number 4, leverage and utilize your team. Ask questions, get different perspectives. All are smarter than one. Ken Blanchard even said, none of us is as smart as all of us. So as a leader, encourage and help generate new ideas. There's more than one answer. Maybe even risk taking a bottoms up approach. The outcome can be long lasting innovation as we move forward. And number 5, communicate judiciously rather than continually. Now, communication is important. Continuous and regular communication is important, but make sure that there is information worthy of sharing. You need to give it proper thought. It must be discerning. You must exercise and show good judgment. Draw from your experience, even if it's from yesterday or last week. Display wisdom, the proper context, and have understanding. Effective communication includes these 5 things. First of all, it's real. It has to exude reality. Number 2, the frequency, and it needs to be consistent. Number 3, the communication needs to be that of caring. Number 4, a communication of hope. And number 5, which is probably the most important, it's a communication that the message is we, not me. Your communication needs to be authentic, even though it's not perfect. Truthful for sure. Proximity, I mentioned earlier, stay close. Get better by surrounding yourself with other leaders and lifting your perspective. Uncertainty is okay, but don't pretend to have all the answers. There are a lot of answers, and there are answers. Do the right thing. Be in the crowd, but keep your head above the crowd. I always say there's never a wrong time to do the right thing. And then encourage by example, by managing yourself. It's oftentimes the most difficult, but do what you know. And let me finish with this. My youngest son is a basketball official, and in his training, one of the rules that they teach the officials is a player cannot be where they haven't been. So what does this mean? It means a player cannot have a backcourt violation if they haven't been in the front court. So they can't be where they haven't been. You cannot lead your people where you haven't gone. We're on a journey that no one has traveled before us. The best thing that you can do is meet your people where they are. Meet your customers where they are. Walk with them. Walk beside them together. You may have to walk ahead at times, but don't lose sight of your people and don't let them lose sight of you. Together, you will come out of this, and we'll come out of it better because of it, not in spite of it. Now, finish the first two sections here. Heidi, do we have any questions that need to be addressed?
No questions at the moment.
Okay, no questions at the moment. And I would encourage you to download the reflection questions. And the first two and a half sections, take some time to reflect on those. I think it's important for each leader to reflect every day anyway. Reflect on what went well, what did you learn today, and what can you do better tomorrow? Because preparing for today means you don't have to repair tomorrow. So please sign up to join us for next week's webinar, April 22nd, same time, noon, Central Time. When you sign up, then you'll get the access. So thank you again for joining us this afternoon. Remember your responsibilities. Remember the perspectives of a leader, and be a good leader. It's not easy, because if it was easy, everybody would be doing it. Thank you for your time this afternoon, and I look forward to you joining me next week.